First, we're going to start off with Heather Mahler. Heather Mahler is a wonderful artist. I think her style is very unique and very different than what I'm seeing from most people. I guess aesthetic-wise, you could compare it to, I don't know, witchy, alternative for sure. But here you see I'm trying to implement her style. I went for the slanted eyes. She either does slanted eyes or very big circular eyes. And I wanted to go for more of the slanted eyes because I find those a little bit more appealing to her style. Here I'm adding in the eye bags and a little bit of the skin details, a little definition in her cheek. I'm not filling out the eyebrows as I normally do because Heather's style is more about lines and basically where you can put them and where they fit. Here, I was trying to replicate the hair as much as I could, seeing as at the ends of the hair, the lines don't connect, and it's more of she lets the coloring connect the lines and do more of the work there. Now, I will say that this is a traditional piece that I'm referencing off of, but I wanted to see if I can implement it digitally. Here I'm working on the braids and just going in, doing a few lines and things of that sort. That's about it. I'm going to wait and then we're going to move on to the next piece. Now we're moving on to more of a more cutesy style, and that is the style of Lavender Town. Lavender Town is a YouTuber that I watch frequently, and I love her style. I was trying to use the tips and tricks from most of her videos, but also just trying to go from basically from eyesight. Her style is very cutesy. Her lines are very either thick or thin, depending on what the piece is. Here I'm going for the very big eye look that she always goes for. I wanted to make it super cute, and I wanted my character to look a little bit more worried and more shy. Then I'm going through the references to see what I can implement here and there, adding the little details that she adds with the iris, which I think is a very cute feature, and she has basically done very well. I don't think I can replicate it as good as she could, but I tried my best. Here, I'm finishing up the braid. This is a very quick and simple style to do, and I think it was my most enjoyable style, just because of the little intricate details and how cutesy and simple it looks. Here, I'm adding where the highlight should go. I go in later and change that, but you'll see that along the video. And that's about it for this one. I'm going to let myself finish up and then we'll start in with the other side. Now we are moving on to another YouTuber who I watch very frequently, TheZodiacLord. Now with this style, I wanted to replicate it as much as possible. So I ended up using the pencil brush instead of using a regular brush. Turned down the opacity, kind of slightly, but not too much. I wanted my lines to look opaque and transparent. There I messed up a bit. I wanted to look opaque and transparent, but I still wanted to look thick, basically, and have some substance. Here, I struggled with the hair a lot because of how ZodiacLord does their hair. The hair is very thick lines, and each hair has its own singular entity, basically. I don't know how else to put it. I ended up drawing the braid, but not really knowing how ZodiacLord draws braids, so I ended up looking up after a reference just to check and make sure. I started doing the eyes. I made the eyes more darker just so that they could pop out more. There you see me checking the ref just to make sure that I drew the braids right or correct. Then I add in the smaller details, and then I kind of remove them later because I'm like, oh, I'm going to add color. So now we're moving on to the Byran O'Malley style, which can be simplistic and complicated at the same time. I end up going back and filling in other things here and there. Now here I went for the big eye look. I was going to go for more of a evil boyfriend kind of look where the eye is slanted or tilted or something of that sort, but I didn't want to. I went for the original classic look with big eyes, thick lines, little details, and so you can see here, I felt like my lines weren't really thick enough, and it's just something I can work on in the future. I felt like they really weren't thick enough for the style, but I tried my best to replicate it as much as I could. I could have selected the piece itself and thickened up the lines, but I didn't really want to do that because that tends to ruin the piece in general. So I just went with it. I was stuck with it. It's there, so that's just how we're gonna go. I don't really know how Byran draws braids or hair tied up in braids, so I just winged it at that point. I was going to leave the eyes open, but it didn't really feel like a Byran O'Malley style, so I ended up filling them with black as well. Last but not least is Zamiiz style. I very much enjoy Zamiiz style and Zamiiz artwork. I feel like her artwork is the most unique. None of her artwork tends to look the same to me. She really, basically, she explores with her artwork, and it shows. You can tell she's trying out new techniques, new ways of drawing, things of that sort. Though her shading, line working, and painting may look the same to other people, I think it looks very diverse and different. She makes different body types that are really eccentric and I really like. And that's it for Zamiiz. I will be talking about the coloring process, though I don't really have much to say about it. I try my best to implicate and replicate as much of the shading and how people line their work and things like that, but I am my own artist, so I'm not going to be able to do that, at all. So even with that said, I try my best to replicate all of their shading styles. For Heather and Mahler, it is more of not shading, but more of watercolor. So I tried to implement that the best way I could. For Lavender Town, it depends on what work she's doing and what she's doing. With her comic, I tend to see that she uses a very high definition, well, not high definition, a very intricate way of shading or a more detailed way of shading. And with her general works on YouTube and things of that sort, I noticed that she used more cell shading because it's easier and quicker. So that's what I went for. ZodiacLord, I did not shade at all because I genuinely like their flat color work. Their flat color work is amazing to me and very aesthetically pleasing, and it is astonishing how great it looks as flat color. With the Scott Pilgrim Byran O'Malley style, I'm just gonna say this was a bomb. And I say that because his style of shading is more of the traditional work, and it's hard for me to replicate traditional work and digital media. It's even hard for me to do it in my own work, where I write my own traditional work and transfer it over digitally. It's just really hard for me to do. So with the Byran O'Malley style, I felt like it was more, I didn't want it to be too pink. Here you see I shade with hues of pink and things like that. And Byran uses Copic markers. And generally when shading with Copics, you use a off blue or a gray. something of that sort. So that's what I was trying to replicate there. Zamiiz style was the most difficult for me, though, because she doesn't have a set style. I don't know what I was referencing, so I referenced different pieces here and there, basically. And I just wanted to see if I could replicate at least to what I perceived as their style. Out of all the 5 styles, I think I successfully mimicked 3 of them. Mahler's style, TheZodiacLord style, and Lavender Town. Byran O'Malley's, I think it's questionable, and Sammy, I think it's questionable as well. Byran O'Malley is my least favorite style because I don't think I captured the essence fully. And that's about it. My favorite out of all of these would be the Helen Marvin style, even though that Sammy is my favorite artist out of all of these artists. I feel like really Heather's style complements me more. Thanks so much for watching the video. If you liked the video, leave a comment, like, and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one.